Let's cut across to our guests right now. All of them will get 2 minutes to put their points forward. Joining me this evening, Anish Gawande, spokesperson, NCP, Sharad Pawar faction, Sanju Verma, national spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party, Avani Bansal, national spokesperson, Congress, Ghanshyam Tiwari, national spokesperson, Samajwadi Party. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, might we begin with you this evening? Usually we've seen you vociferously stand by your ally, the Congress, especially when it's facing off with the BJP. But today, it seems that your leader has chosen to stand with the BJP in criticizing the Congress in this protest.
Good evening, Preeti, to you, the viewers, and the fellow co-panelists. I think in no extraordinary words, one should state in plain speak that this protest is not in good taste. And there cannot be a defense. Whoever took the decision to protest like this at the AI summit, the decision was wrong, both from a point of view of the party itself and the point of view of the national movement of AI Summit, when people from across the world were there. Now, if you look at the political backdrop of this decision and how BJP is latching onto that backdrop, these are times when Hardeep Puri has to do a lot of explanation. The Prime Minister has to say what is his relationship with Hardeep Puri, given the revelations in Epstein file. Every week we see new revelations with respect to the Adani corruption scandal spanning out. Every week, the amount of evidence against Anil Ambani and the song and dance comment with respect to the Prime Minister's visit in Israel in 2017 becomes bigger in the international arena. And the Prime Minister is in Israel. So from those perspectives, one has to look at this as the weakest moment of the leadership of Prime Minister in terms of his credibility internationally and in terms of his credibility within the country, to the extent that he is even unable to speak in the parliament. That the speaker has to laughably come up with...
Can I hold your clock? I'm just going to hold your clock, sir. You know, I'm going to ask our producers to hold the clock, and I'm going to ask you a rebuttal. I rarely do it to interrupt. So are you saying that the Congress, by the virtue of this protest, has distracted away from what are the pertinent questions that should have been asked by the government? So, in effect, the Congress is ineffective in being the leader of opposition.
Well, if you look at the government itself, Prime Minister afraid of Parliament, the Speaker is in the dock for his own, the Speaker elected by BJP is in the dock, Mr. Om Birla. His government stands compromised on corruption and national integrity with respect to with respect to the book, as well as with respect to national security issues and with respect to the foreign partnerships, trade deals with respect to US. So in many ways, this was an opportunity to put the government on the mat and be the voice of the people. By this protest, the Congress party gave an opportunity for BJP to escape this situation. I don't think they can escape, but it has gotten...
All right, do we have Anish Gawande with us? We do. You know, I just want to go to the allies before we come to the two principal warring factions, which is the principal opposition, Congress and the BJP. So, Anish Gawande, you just heard out Ghanshyam Tiwari, who usually always has his allies back, and today very clearly standing in the corner of the BJP. Where does your party stand? Was this protest justified? Do you think should have been avoided?
Preeti, to start off with, thank you for having me on your show, and let me begin with a frank admission. When this protest took place, I, like many others, including Manoj Jhaji, who has written beautifully about this today, were slightly disturbed. The first reaction was that this was not the forum for protest. This was not where this protest should have taken place. In hindsight, however, I think it has become painfully obvious that the actions taken against the protesters were not only disproportionate, but have brought more shame to the country than the actual act of the protest itself. Just a few days ago, you saw indigenous protesters protest against King Charles in Australia. They were asked to leave the venue. This is the prerogative of the government. They've organized the India AI Summit. They've thought that this protest is not valid. They can request the protesters to leave. But in a democracy, to lead them to 5-day police custody, while people like Vijay Shah, who called Colonel Sofia Qureshi the sister of terrorists, are still lying as ministers in the MP government, is laughable. What kind of disproportionate action is this? And what kind of action are you taking that requires 5-day police custody of peaceful protesters in a democracy? I think in many ways, the problem today is that the protest itself has been blown out of proportion. I think the democratic right to protest is one that every single Indian enjoys. And the Delhi police, which could have taken action much sooner, but clearly allowed these protesters to stage their action because they knew that it would give them a way and the government a way to avoid the embarrassment that had been caused by the Galgotia scandal, by the complete mismanagement at that summit, and by the failure in many ways of the Indian government
Let
to
me hold your
respond
clock.
to the
Allow me, Anish.
Supreme
Can I
Court
hold your
case.
clock? Last
Sure.
15
Of
seconds, and
course.
I'm going to hold it. You know, and the reason I'm holding your clock is because I'm going to ask you that question that I asked Ghanshyam Tiwari. Do you think the protest as an ally, you might have a personal opinion which says that I wasn't happy in the beginning because I thought, you know, it could have been avoided or done in a better fashion. Now, does your party feel that the protest was justified and there was nothing wrong in it? What's your party stand?
The party stands firmly with the Indian Youth Congress. We condemn the detention of all Youth Congress appointees
Okay.
and functionaries, especially of the IYC president.
All right. Okay. So there are two divergent points of view that are coming in from two allies of the Congress party. I'd like to also put out the TMC has decided to stay away from this conversation, but they're very clear that they're not quite happy with what really went down. But put that in perspective, they have an election to fight against the Congress in just the next month and a half, where the state of West Bengal is concerned. But what explains the DMK coming out and stating the same, that unavoidable. The Uddhav Sena saying should not have happened. And they've even gone a step further, suggesting that there's problematic, the leadership of the party. Maybe we need a new leader in the form of a Mamata Banerjee. So read that all in context while I bring in the Congress spokesperson right now, and then we'll go across to Sanju Verma. But cutting across to the Congress spokesperson, you have, ma'am, at one end, your own party members. You've had a Mani Shankar Iyer, you can call him disgruntled. On the other hand, you had a Margaret Alva, who was your projection as a president, vice president candidate. And even she has come out and said very clearly that, listen, it should not have happened. Of course, she's gone out, and we'll put that tweet out, where she said that, you know, my party, internal democracy, suggests that I can actually express my dissent, unlike the Bharatiya Janata Party. Let's put that tweet out by Margaret Alva after her statement. But your allies think you're in the wrong, your own party members think you're in the wrong. Why so belligerent and trying to brazen it out? Admit it was in bad taste.
Preeti, thank you so much for your question. As you've just heard from the panelists, one may have their own opinions about the form of the protest, but absolutely everybody in the opposition is in unison as far as the substance of the protest is concerned. Let's be also very clear that to dissent in our democracy, there is no permission required of anybody. Our constitution protects even a single person holding a placard, whether you like it or not, as long as it is done peacefully. And why go far? Look at the Commonwealth Games. We know that the BJP protested even when the whole of the world descended to Delhi for the Commonwealth Games. Even when the Howdy Modi event was happening at the Madison Square, there were protests. So what is one thing in common across international events is that peaceful protests have found a space. The real question is that by stifling dissent, what the BJP is trying to do is to change the very nature of democracy into a management opera. If the government has nothing to fear, why fear young people raising slogans so much? In fact, my theory is that every time something like this happens, peaceful protest, BJP, through the police and through the institutions capture, tries to make this about further stifling the voices of opposition in the country. Now we'll try and figure out where is the fun.
Can I hold, Avni Bansal, I'd like to hold your, you know, I think today is a day to hold everybody's timer. But I'm going to come back and ask you this question again, which I had asked the Congress spokesperson on Friday itself. While you say that peaceful protests should be allowed, 100%. Peaceful protests are a part of democracy, should be allowed. But when you enter an exhibition area, are you not somewhere down the line also disrespecting, disrupting, you know, the process of it all? There are indigenous innovators coming in, a lot of hope to attract business, leave alone, maybe embarrass international guests. Nobody's telling you not to protest, but it's just the way it was done. Make your point.
Rahul Gandhi ji has been constantly pointing out that all avenues of democratic protest are being shut down. When the opposition is not allowed to speak in the parliament, when the media, as we are seeing, is in a state where freedom of voice is being stifled down, if young people found an avenue, well, you can judge the form as much as you like, but the questions that they're asking, the way they're being treated, I think that raises way more fundamental questions that should ideally be addressed, in my opinion, on this TV debate.
All right, fair point. You had 7 more seconds, but we're going to leave it at that. I want to bring in Sanju Verma into this conversation. Sanju Verma, you've heard it not just from the allies, you've heard it from members of the Congress as well. Some of them personally have come out and said, in bad taste. But leave it to bad taste because, A, it's a protest. Protests are allowed. It's done in a bad way. Many think it disrespected our own innovators, international guests. You can judge that. But Sanju Verma today, and we'll put up the charges that have been framed against these 5 protesters. Don't you think the kind of charges framed against a protest like these and these protesters who continue to be in jail are a lot harsher than what really has gone down? Let's put up the list of charges. Let's put those out. Go ahead, Sanju Verma.
Preeti, with no offense to you, you have been in the news, you've been all over social media over the weekend. I will not get into the argument about whether there should be a designated
Madam, let me hold your timer on this. You said I've been in the news all over. Allow me, no. I will let you complete. Like I said, today is the day to hold timers. Arey, ma'am, like, come on. Let me ask you one question. Sanju Verma, allow me to ask you one question. You began with something, allow me to ask you, and you have ample time to answer. You're saying I've been all over the news over the weekend. Madam, you were on the show, no?
Yes.
You were on the same show on Friday with me, which was a question posed to you. So you know exactly what went down. You know exactly what was clipped. Now let's go.
Preeti, come on. I love coming on your shows. We've had some very, heated arguments. But like politicians should have a thick skin. You are an up and rising journal. You should also have a thick skin, Preeti. You can't be telling everybody who questions you, ye troll hai, wo troll hai. Thoda to, rhinoceros का skin नहीं तो थोड़ा तो आप ही धैर्य रखिए. But I will just come to the moot point because this is a widely watched show. This is not about Preeti Chaudhary or Sanju Verma. हिंदी में कहावत है, जिंदगी में एक उसूल जरूर रखो, यारों से गद्दारी नहीं और गद्दारों के साथ यारी नहीं. कांग्रेस ने तो देश के साथ गद्दारी करी. And look at the audacity of the Darbari ecosystem led by Rahul Gandhi and his vanquished family retainers. They are saying, so what? This was a peaceful protest. Sorry. You chose the wrong venue. You chose the wrong time. And when I say you, I mean the Congress protesters, so-called 40-year-old pot-bellied protesters who call themselves youngsters, but that's besides the point. The limited point is this, that Sam Altman, Sundar Pichai, Kristalina Georgieva, the MD of IMF, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, they all said AI is accessible, AI is ethical, AI has been democratized, AI is authentic. And who has made this possible? Narendra Modi. And what else did Emmanuel Macron say? What Prime Minister Modi has done in the last 11 years, no country has been able to do for a population of 1.45 billion. And what does the opposition say? They talk about Galgotias. They will talk about why Uday Bhanu Chib has been arrested. Why not? I say give them the harshest punishment. And I think, Preeti, I was given lesser time because before I could even speak, I was told it's 50 seconds.
No, ma'am, you've been given, one thing everyone says they've been given lesser time. I'll come back to you for your 2 minutes again. All of you have been given exactly the equal time. You say one should have a thicker skin of a rhinoceros. That's for politicians, ma'am. Politicians need to have a thicker skin. Where journalists are concerned, they need to call out propaganda when they see it. And that's exactly what I did when my clip was cut, stitched together, clipped, and tried to be passed off as something it wasn't. So it's my duty to do what I did, and I did so. Maybe others don't on other channels, but here we do. Let's get back to this conversation. We start with 2 minutes again. I will bring in Ghanshyam Tiwari. Ghanshyam Tiwari, do you agree somewhere down the line with the voices coming in from your own alliance, and when I say you, I'm talking about your party line, that maybe there needs to be a change of guard? You've heard it coming in, echoing, especially from the Uddhav Sena repeatedly. First it happened in an editorial, and now openly they are saying that maybe, it's time for a Mamata Banerjee to take over for a shorter while, maybe should do a better job.
Well, clearly, I think the question is directed towards the narrative of this question is directed towards the wrong end. There has to be a change of guard in a government where the top ministers have lost their credibility or have become pygmied. Let's look at the current cabinet of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister missing from the parliament, advised by the Lok Sabha Speaker against women MP attacking him in a party that has 93 members with criminal charges in the current Lok Sabha. A Prime Minister surrounded by 93 members with criminal charges is afraid of few women MPs. Rajnath Singh exposed by the autobiography that is yet to be released of Major General Narwane. Amit Shah exposed in the Delhi blast case. Nirmala Sitaraman exposed with the way budget played out. S. Jaishankar exposed in the way the Indian foreign policy has fallen flat between Russia to United States. Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav exposed in the way Galgotia University played out. Mr. Piyush Goyal completely exposed in the ransom-like Indo-US trade deal that is playing out. And Hardeep Singh Puri, the granddaddy of this expose, has to answer a lot. And the Prime Minister has to answer. He is the Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister. Do you think that AI movement in any country can happen without the access of enormous amount of energy? So if our Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister has been exposed with tens to 60s of emails of conversations that he has not come out clean, it has to be answered. So government that from top to bottom.
Okay. Can I hold your? I'm going to hold your timer. And I apologize to our back-end support staff because you're constantly having to hold the timer in our PCR. But let me ask you this question again, sir. You're saying the change of guard needs to happen from the government. I'll just ask you one very direct question. Are you happy as a political party and ally of the Congress, very happy with the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, and the party being the principal party which is the fulcrum of your alliance? Go, sir.
I will return that question to the viewers. You look at the way the parliament session proceeded. You look at the speeches made by India Alliance leaders from Akhilesh Yadav ji to Rahul Gandhi ji, and you look at the way, almost schoolboy-like way, the entire cabinet stood in the way when leader of opposition was speaking, and Om Birla, the Speaker of the House, rather disgracefully did not allow that conversation to happen. I think the voters of our country have to look at the way opposition leaders have held India Alliance and their
okay, sir, time is up. Time is up. I want to bring in Anish Gawande into this conversation again. Anish Gawande, what is the reason that you see, the split has always been there. Sometimes the fault lines are very visible, and this is a time that one can see it, especially in the alliance, which has been stitched very uneasily where the India bloc is concerned. Why is it many members of your own alliances coming out and being very openly critical of the Congress party today? Some of them might be fighting elections in their state, but it's not just restricted to those few, like the TMC.
Preeti, the splits are not in the India Alliance's narrative, but rather in the BJP's accusations, which seem to be getting more bizarre day by day. Initially, the accusations against these protesters were that they were anti-national and bringing shame to India. Today, it seems like the accusation is that they're pot-bellied and middle-aged, and therefore we should have somebody with washboard abs opening up their shirts so that they can become a better spectacle for national television. So, at the end of the day, let's remember that the BJP keeps spinning new narratives every single day to discredit any form of opposition in this country. They've not allowed protests anywhere. You try and get permission for a protest in New Delhi and it's impossible. They will shove you off to Jantar Mantar after decrying the uniform application of 144 when they were in the opposition, right? So this is why the opposition is continuously united across party lines on the treatment of protesters, which is what you must bear in mind. As to whether or not the opposition agrees on whether the youth wing of a particular party as a part of the India Alliance takes place or participates in a kind of protest, that's a difference of opinion that exists in every alliance. And finally, to your question of whether anybody is unhappy with the leader of the India Alliance, let me clarify. There is no leader of the India Alliance. The India Alliance does not have a post of India Alliance President or India Alliance Chief. So every constitutive party of the India Alliance is treated with respect. And every constitutive party of the India Alliance has the right to participate in electoral politics to its own gain. For example, we fight against the Congress in Kerala. We come together with the Congress in Maharashtra, right? The leader of opposition is a constitutional post. It's one that Rahul Gandhi ji has assumed as the leader of his party. And it's one that he's performed incredibly well at. And we've supported him in parliament and will continue to do so.
Well, all right, okay, that's 12 seconds short. But the fact is, as a leader of opposition, it's a post that you have all accepted Rahul Gandhi to occupy. And it's not that he's done it by the virtue of just acceptance. The party has earned it in the number of seats it's won.
Exactly.
If you juxtapose it with the number of seats you guys have won. But there is a difference there. Okay, so I want to, I'm going to just skip the Congress spokesperson. I'm coming right back to you, ma'am, but allow me to bring in Sanju Verma first because he's very eager, to come in on that. So, Sanju Verma, on one account, you've been said that you've made ageist jokes on the youth Congress workers and also body shamed them. The second, but that's on a lighter note. But second, the sheer fact that there is no place to protest. In the parliament, the allegation of the Congress is you shut them down. Where you talk about Jantar Mantar, like you said, over the course of the last 2 days, lots was said on social media. By the way, Jantar Mantar, you have to actually seek permission to protest. And there can only be a set number of people who can protest. So there is really no avenue to protest. And the tenet of protest, Sanju Verma, you and I both know, is to occupy public spaces.
You know, Preeti, now, no offense to you, you said the job of a journalist is to question propaganda. And I know I don't need to give you certificates, but you also need to question Congress propaganda, not just BJP propaganda. But I will come to the moot point, Preeti. Anish Gawande here, misquoted my statement, not that I care, because his faction, the Sharad Pawar NCP, lost its national party status 3 years back. And let me remind Anish Gawande, a young woman in her 20s called Ketaki Chitale, famous Marathi actress. A young student, again in his 20s, called Nikhil Bhamre. You know why they were arrested? Summarily without an FIR. When Uddhav Thackeray's dispensation was in power in Maharashtra, simply because they shared a poem on Facebook criticizing Sharad Pawar. So Anish Gawande should simply keep quiet and not make a fool of himself by peddling trash on national TV. First, go and question Sharad Pawar, why youngsters in their 20s were arrested. Now, let me come to the moot point, Preeti. Rahul Gandhi and the Darbari ecosystem says, including Ghanshyam Tiwari, Prime Minister is compromised. I will tell you who is compromised. Rahul Gandhi, when Chandrayaan-2 refused to come to fruition, you were clapping. But when Chandrayaan-3 became a massive success, you did not applaud ISRO. Shubhanshu Shukla became the first Indian astronaut to land at the International Space Station. But Rahul Gandhi, you did not applaud his achievement. When India overtook UK to become the world's 5th largest economy, Rahul Gandhi, you are compromised. You did not applaud India. When India overtook Japan to become the world's 4th largest economy, Rahul Gandhi, you did not applaud India. You are compromised. The AI summit was not BJP summit. It was India's moment, India's shining moment. And Rahul Gandhi, you chose to undermine India's shining moment by sending your goons because you are compromised. That's the hard truth, Preeti.
Okay. All right. So, but Sanju Verma, like you said, I need to call out not just BJP propaganda, Congress propaganda. I agree. Every party runs a propaganda. It needs to be called out. And we endeavor to do so right here, and which we did also on Friday, where we said maybe it wasn't such a good idea to walk into a summit which was international in nature, which had international guests, and which also had a lot of indigenous innovators hoping to get business and make it big, right? But on the other hand, we must also call out why such harsh charges being posed against, at least prima facie, what looks as an ill-timed, embarrassing protest. But I want to bring in the Congress spokesperson in all of this. Is there a sense, Avni Bansal, today that maybe it was a decision? A lot of political decisions are taken. Some of them don't quite do well, and in hindsight are regretful. Why is the Congress belligerent on sticking by a protest which clearly a lot of people don't quite agree with, which includes your own alliance members and your own party members? Accept it was a mistake, should have happened maybe in a different venue, and move on from there.
Thank you, Preeti. First, let me just make my point clear to the BJP spokesperson. चिल्लाने से, धमकाने से, डराने से, Congress डरने वाली नहीं है. Point number one. Point number two, what were my brothers who were protesting at Bharat Mandapam saying? PM is compromised. Today on your TV debate, I want to say PM is compromised. My brother Hari, when he was being arrested by the police, made a statement that was played out by the ANI that Hardeep Singh Puri must go. And today on your TV debate, I want to reiterate, Hardeep Singh Puri must go. Today, it is the IYC protesters. Yesterday, it was the farmers. Tomorrow, there will be more people. But what this protest has shown is the real face of the BJP. You've slapped charges to ensure that any critical voice is thwarted. The Pradhan Mantri uses words like Nangapa. Is that the language of the Prime Minister? With respect, I want to say I can't even bring myself to use those words on a TV debate. And being the Prime Minister, he's using those words. And third, when you have arrested or detained IYC Indian Youth Congress President Mr. Uday Banuchip, what is the message that you're trying to show? आप यदि आवाज उठाओगे तो हम आपका समाज के सामने उदाहरण बनाएंगे. बना लीजिए. आप आज एक को चुप करेंगे, कल लाखों लोग खड़े होंगे. But Congress will stand for the constitutional liberty of freedom of speech and expression. People, as long as it is peaceful, and this was a peaceful protest. बीजेपी की स्पोक्सपर्सन ने आपको जवाब नहीं दिया कि जब कॉमनवेल्थ हुआ था तब भी तो दुनिया थी, तब भी तो इंडिया का प्राइड था. क्या बीजेपी वालों ने वहां पे प्रोटेस्ट नहीं किया था? तो क्या उस समय पे कांग्रेस की गवर्नमेंट ने बीजेपी के लोगों को सलाखों के पीछे डाल दिया था? आपको फॉर्म पसंद आया नहीं पसंद आए, लेकिन एक प्रजातंत्र में ऑपोजिशन अपनी वॉइस ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे रेस करने की कोशिश करेगा जहां पे मीडिया उसको कवर करे. आपको उसका नेचर टेस्ट पसंद आए नहीं आए, बट जो मुद्दा उठा रहे हैं उस पे आपकी चुप्पी क्यों हो, ये मेरा सवाल.
All right, okay, so that's all the time that we have for. I need to quickly step into a break. I appreciate all four of you for taking the time out and joining us, putting your party's point forward. We're going to leave it at that. And